Hello, everyone. How are you guys this evening? When you come in, let me know if you are able to hear me. I hope you all have had a productive week so far, because it's Wednesday. Yes, it is hump day, and a couple more days till the weekend. So some of you, I'm sure you see the title, and the title of this video, what I'm going to be discussing, is you attract on the level that you radiate from. And I know we've seen so many times, in discussion, you'll see or hear people say, well, yeah, that's just, that's the type of person you picked, or, whatever. And it can kind of come from a negative place to the point that we automatically close out our ear and we don't hear the message that is actually there. But it is true. You attract on the level at which you radiate from within, right? So hey Sherry, so I had took it upon myself to look up the word radiate, right? Because y'all know I'm real big about words and definitions. So radiate means to emit. It means to give out, give off. It means to shine, okay? So the level that you attract is the level at which you radiate from. So what kind of energy are you giving off, right? What kind of signals are you putting out that you might not be aware of? If we are operating on low levels of energy, low levels of frequency, then that's the type of level at which we'll meet somebody else or attract somebody else. Whereas after you do internal work on yourself, self-development, and you're on a higher level, then you can attract someone on that level. So it's easy for us to be at whatever stage we are in life and say, oh, well, I want to meet this type of person. He needs to have this going on, or she needs to have this job, and she needs to have this mindset. But yet we don't even have the same thing at which we are requesting of somebody else. So it always starts with yourself. Everything starts with yourself, whether it be, your relationships, friendships, careers, whatever the case may be. Everything starts with you. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. And I want to also say this, that just because you are radiating at a lower level does not mean that you can't attract someone that's on a higher level. And a lot of times this will happen, and we won't really know what's going on. We won't really know why this person has come into our life. But most times it's to teach you something, to get you to see something, to get you to wake up, So, just because you're operating on a lower level doesn't mean you can't attract someone who's on a higher level. However, most times they're probably there to teach you something. They're probably there to show you a different way of life so that you can then radiate higher, okay? And the same thing, whenever you are operating on a higher level and you attract somebody at a lower level, perhaps they're just drawn to your energy. Perhaps they're just drawn to your light, okay? Perhaps, they like being in your company. So a lot of times you have to watch these kinds of people because, they can come around and just want to take from you, to take your energy. But at the same time, why not help them elevate as well? All right. So it's important to remember or to understand and to know that every encounter that you have with a person does not mean that you need to be in a relationship with them. All right. And I think that, just from being bred in society standards, when it comes to relationships, a lot of times when we meet somebody, we think, oh, I wonder if this is the one, right? Or is he going to be this? Or is she going to be, this for me? Is this my wife? We analyze it on that level, right? Which is so basic. It's so basic that we really don't go further and in depth to the point that we're saying or asking the questions like, oh, I wonder what it is that they're here to teach me, right? I wonder what it is that I can learn from them, okay? These are the types of questions that we need to be asking regarding people that come into our lives, versus just standard basic of how we are used to dealing with people if we want to, really attract the things that we want to attract in life, okay? And so another point that I want to point out too is, when you're in these stages of low-level living, okay, that's what we're going to use for that evening, low-level living. When you're in those stages, it's so much easier to manifest things. And so what I mean by that, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. So how sometimes you can be like, oh, well, I wish I had somebody around that I could just spend time with, right? Or I wish I had somebody, around who could take out this trash, or I wish I had somebody around who, can cook for me, or whatever the case may be, because people, we all desire companionship. We all desire to spend time with somebody. We all desire to be touched. That is a need. That is a need for every human being, all right? So we want that companionship. We want people around us. And so we'll say, I just want this person for this. I just want that person for that. And that person will show up. That person will come knocking at your door, all right? That person will just come out of nowhere. Where did they come from? Well, you spoke them up. This is what you said that you wanted. And here it is, not really knowing what's going on. You've spoke this person up, saying, I wish that they could do this, and they will come and only be able to provide you that. Okay? And yet you're still there at this level. So I want you to be mindful, when you do say, what it is that you desire, when you speak your desires. Be very careful and also be detailed when it comes to that, because it's easier to manifest things in a relaxed state. All right, I read in this book, and it was a really, really good book, and I've posted from it a few times, and I will maybe post a few quotes and things from it maybe later on or throughout the week. But the book is called Open Your Mind to Receive, and it's by this woman by the name of Catherine Ponder. And the book was written in the 1980s, but it's a phenomenal book. It's really enlightening and awakening, which is, what a lot of us are kind of needing in the stages that we are in our life. And so it's easier to manifest things when you're in a relaxed state. And here is why. She said that your casual words are very powerful because you speak them forth in a relaxed state. A relaxed state of your mind, right? And here's why. Because there's no mental block. All right? There's no mental block to your manifestation. There's nothing saying, oh, no, that's not possible, right? Because when you're relaxed, you're comfortable, and you're saying, oh, I wish this person would just come around, and boom, here they come, because you're so comfortable and you're so relaxed saying it, and they show up, right? Versus you speaking to yourself and saying, oh, I want to, increase my revenue by $10,000 in my business this year. Now, you actively saying that and being consciously aware of what you're saying, a lot of times when you say things like that, your mind automatically retracts and says, no, you can't have that. Or you begin to think about, oh, how am I going to do that, right? To the point that you're blocking or literally limiting what it is that you just told the universe that you desired. So it's easier to manifest things in a relaxed state. So be very mindful of what you say. Mario, the book, Open Your Mind to Receive by Catherine Ponder is the last name. Ponder, Ponder. Okay, so just keep that in mind, on a day-to-day practice, because it's so easy to just speak things out of a casual state, not really knowing what it is that we're saying, what it is that we're desiring. Hey, LaMarcus, how are you? And so just be mindful. Keep that in mind, all right? So as I told you before, every encounter that you have with someone is not a person that you should be in a relationship with, right? Or it's not a person that you need to build a friendship with. You need to ask yourself, what can this person teach me? What can they show me? What are they here to bring to the table? And it's not from a perspective of, give me, or not from the perspective of just, giving and not being able, or receiving and not being able to give, but it's from the perspective of guarding, your energy, protecting yourself, all right? And that's very, very important. And it's important because, or it's important also for you to be in tune spiritually. To be in tune spiritually with your spirit, with the spirit within, right? With the God within you. It's important to be in tune because, yes, we have natural instincts, but also there comes a certain knowledge or a certain wisdom that we are endowed with, that will say, hey, no, that's not that person. This is what this person is here for. This person is going to show you this. A lot of times we'll say, I wish I had somebody that could help me with my business. Or, I wish someone could show me what I need to do, regarding seeking an education or whatever the case may be. And those people will come around. Here it is, we thinking we're supposed to be in a relationship. No, they're just here to help you at the level at which you are saying that you need assistance, at which you need help. Okay? And something else, I had made some points because I wanted to make sure I touched on these things. So with that being said, what have you learned from your past relationships? What have your past relationships taught about you? Those good and those bad, right? The ones that went really well, real smooth, and the ones that was just, damaging, where all hell broke loose, right? Every experience that we have in our life, I truly believe, comes to teach us something, comes to make us better. But a lot of times we'll be so caught up in what happened and what left and what went away and what we don't have anymore, to the point that we miss the lesson, all right? We miss what it is that we're supposed to be, that we were supposed to learn, that could have made us a better person. So, what have your past relationships taught you about yourself? Have you been able to actually examine yourself after a relationship? Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we are hurt from one and we're so quick to jump into another. And here it is, you're hurting and you're carrying the pain from one relationship on to a next. That one don't work out because you never dealt with the issues that came about in the first relationship. And so it's just a cycle, right? It's a cycle. When you see things that are repeating themselves as cycles in our life, that is a signal that something is wrong, that something, all right, needs to be touched. And when I say touch, that you need to get to the root of something. There's something there that you have not paid attention to, right? There's something there that you have not given light to, right? There's something that's lying in the depth, that's lying in the darkness inside of us that we refuse to bring to light, that we refuse to talk about. Why? Because it hurts, right? It hurts to think that, maybe someone that you might have been into, that you thought was really interesting, you thought she was really smart, or, he smelled really good, whatever, okay? That they left, right? That they left you. All right. And so that makes us feel bad. No, nobody really likes rejection. Nobody, I don't like rejection. Nobody really likes rejection. Okay. But, there is something that needs to be dealt with. So what is that? What is that that's lying inside of us that, we have not dealt with? It could be issues of anger. It can be issues from, past experiences. It can be familial issues, problems that, came up in our family. An uncle had did such and such to, our cousin. And so, now there's bad blood there. It's things that we don't deal with, and the emotions behind it, they take root inside. So just calling out these different examples. You and your cousin don't get along because y'all always at it. It's like a battle. Which one can do this? Which one can do that? Or, you and your sister, your brother, you can't get along because, well, you look this way and they look that way. These are the examples that I'm giving to you. They seem like that's silly, right? But these are real issues that happen within our family that when we don't deal with them and, we just ignore them or we put them off, they just take root. They sit there and we're just living life, doing this. You're still able to function. You're still able to function and do what you need to do in life. However, these issues are still there. And they're affecting every single thing else that you're trying to do in life, that you're trying to accomplish in life, that you're trying to receive in life. And you have no idea because you never really took the time to work on yourself. We just go from one relationship to the next, not realizing that, I'm feeling some type of way. And it's a repeated cycle. So that, again, that's just a sign or a signal that some work needs to be done, internally. So, what are you doing for yourself? What are you trying to accomplish? How are you going to get there? All right. We say that, one day we want to have this nice big home or this wonderful career, we want the husband, the wife, we want the 3 children, but what are you doing to get there? All right. What steps are you taking to heal yourself? What steps are you taking to become your better self? Because, one thing is true about life. You can't receive what it is that you don't prepare for. So what are you doing to prepare for these things? What are you doing to prepare for the things that it is that you say you want. And here's when you know that you're serious. Here's when you know you're serious about your life and where you are going. It's not when you're just saying, oh, I want this, and I'm speaking this, and I'm doing this. But it's when you work on yourself. It's when you ask yourself the hard questions, right? It's when you ask yourself, well, why do I feel this way when this happens? Okay? Or why am I not able to achieve this? Or why does this keep happening over and over again? It's when you ask yourself the hard questions, the ugly questions, the hurtful questions, that you're really serious about life and that you're really serious about yourself. So when was the last time you asked, what can I do for me? What can I do to work on myself? All right? And there's nothing wrong with taking that time to work on yourself. And in doing that, the best environment, okay, is when it's just you and you have no distractions. You are not inclined to anyone or to anything. It's just you. And you are literally just going through and dismantling, everything that you have, taken on through the years, everything that you have acquired, every habit, every behavior. It's when you literally go through and you dissect all of these things. And here's something else I want to say that is very important, and it might be something that I do later on, but outside of relationships, outside of our connections and our friendships, we take on, that we take on day to day. Some of us are literally born into behaviors that we don't even know about. These are things that are literally passed down from generation to generation, and we're just like, that's just the way it's been. That's just how we are. That's just how my family is. And it's dysfunction. It's dysfunction, and it prevents you from being your best self, being your higher self, but yet it's just normal. That's just how everybody is. And it's an excuse. It's an excuse. We use it as an excuse, but that alone within itself is just a whole nother video, because they've been classified as, generational curses, and that is very true. But we don't give those things time, because those things are hurtful, those things are dark. Nobody wants to deal with that. So what does the family do? We just bury it, sweep it under the rug, and nobody talks about it, right? But it's still there, and you can see it being passed on from, one generation to the next, and that is just, that's typically how things are. I'm trying to read this question. Most of what happens to us happens in our earlier years, and we carry them into adulthood. That's true. How do we get at that thing or those things when decades have passed? That's a very good question, Mario. I'm glad you asked that question. I touched it a little bit, but I'll go a little bit more in depth. Okay, so yes, a lot of us have had experiences, bad experiences from our childhood. And so how do you get past those things when they were decades ago? Well, it's good that you asked that. A lot of us, even in our adulthood, we'll say, oh, well, that's just how it is. I can't get over that. And we'll continue living life, and all the while this thing is still affecting us. Hey, here's a truth moment, right? I never really attempted to do this self-work, this self-improvement, self-development until my adulthood. It didn't become clear to me that, hey, in order for you to be your best self, you need to do some work now. So it wasn't until my adulthood that I realized that, I wasn't happy with the way things were going in my life. I wasn't happy with the person, that I saw in the mirror. I wasn't happy with the habits and the things that I just, that kept occurring, that kept repeating themselves. So a lot of times it's not until our adulthood that we realize a need. So, no matter what stage that you are in, it is good. It's wonderful that you do these things. Hey, LaShonda. So how do you get at that thing or those things when decades have passed? So the first thing, the first step to healing is acknowledgement, right? So by asking the question, you are acknowledging that something has occurred in my life that has left me some way. There's something that is wrong here, and I want to do something about it. So the first step is acknowledging. So you are halfway there, right? Now, from acknowledging it, you get to the root of that thing. All right, so I'm just going to give an example. Let's just say, you're somebody who, when you were young, your parents, divorced or, split up. And all throughout life, you were really angry, but you didn't know why. Okay? So something like that. Let's just take that for example. So get to the root of that. All right. So how did that happenstance, or how did that occurred, okay, make you feel? Your experience, whatever it was for whoever's here, that experience that you're thinking about, how does that make you feel? All right. How does that make you feel? Even now, how does that make you feel in your adulthood, or even then when it happened? All right. So for this example, parents splitting up, let's see, a lot of times when we see that, a child seeing that may feel abandoned, right? May feel that they did something wrong for their parents to split up. They may think that they're unlovable, okay, which is why their parents split up. So whatever your experience was, ask those questions. How does this make me feel, right? Why does this make me feel this way? And literally, if it helps to write it down, write it down. But just being able to go to those places, just being able to explore those feelings, is the next step after acknowledgement. So now after you acknowledge your feelings, right? Because so many times, everybody wants to be Superman. Everybody wants to be the one, that can take on this, and we're just so super strong and nothing phases us. And we're walking around broken. We're walking around, literally bleeding inside out and have no recollection of it, right? So it's important. I'm getting questions. I'm sorry. Okay, DeAndre, I'll get back to your question just a minute because I'm trying to finish up this other. But being able to express your feelings and how you feel about something that occurred to you is the next step from acknowledgement. And so what do you do once you acknowledge your feelings? Well, something that worked for me was to say that I am not that. Okay? Whatever those feelings were, whatever you thought that you did wrong in the circumstance, which the example that I gave was the parents splitting up. So that person felt unlovable. They felt, abandoned, like they had did something wrong. So you're going to now speak the opposite of what it is that you're feeling, All right. So no, I am lovable. Okay. In the aspect of divorce, the child know I did nothing wrong. All right. And then also it's important to explore those feelings. So what do I mean by explore those feelings? Not only acknowledging those feelings, but exploring, right? So you may have some questions about why something happened to you. Again, what your experience was. Right, exactly. I'm continuing, Mario. So explore the feelings, right, from the event that took place, right? So a lot of times this may cause you, right? This may cause you to go back to the person who caused the hurt, if they're around. I don't know. When you not only acknowledge that there's a problem, you acknowledge your feelings, you explore your feelings. So when you explore something, you do research. You go deep, all right? You go all the way to the beginning from how this started. How did this start? How did this happen? So it may cause you to go to, a person or persons involved in the event that took place, all right? So you may have to go back to that person and be like, why did you do this to me? You may have to go back to that mother, who allowed you to be molested by her boyfriend. You may have to go to your mother and ask her, why did you allow this to happen to me? And guess what? Some of us are thinking, maybe you're thinking in your mind, no, that's too much. That's overstepping. According to whom? Either you want to be whole or you don't. There's no half-stepping in healing. There's no half-stepping in truth. All right? So there may be times when you have to go to that mother and say, why did you allow this to happen to me? Okay? And, who knows what the answer that she might give. Or for this child who has a divorced parents, why did you guys get divorced? You may have to go to your father, you may have to go to your mother and ask them, why did that happen, right? But in asking the hard questions, nobody wants to deal with this. Nobody wants to ask the hard question because it ruffles up feathers. It brings up the stuff out of the darkness. Nobody wants to deal with it because we buried that a long time ago. We're not going to deal with this now because it happened 20 years ago. No, you deal with it. You handle it how you want to. Never allow somebody to tell you how you should deal with your hurt when it comes to you bettering yourself and when it comes to you healing. Healing is number one. Never let anyone tell you how you should go about doing that. All right? So in your exploration, you're asking these questions. Maybe your father, with the example that I gave, maybe your father says, well, we just couldn't get along. I was trying to start my career and your mother was trying to do this and it just didn't work. So in asking that question, you are finding out that, hey, you're discovering now. After you explore, then there's discovery. You discover the truth. You discover that, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't that I was unlovable. Dad said this was the issue. Mario, so are you saying we need to identify specific events in order to identify certain characteristics that need to change? Absolutely. That's absolutely what I'm saying. Yes, absolutely. Yes. You need to identify those specific, well, you've already acknowledged them, right? You said something happened. And from acknowledging it, you are exploring it now. So you're asking questions, getting to the bottom of it, getting clarity. And in the process of doing this, you are discovering truth. And so when it comes to the woman whose, mother allowed her boyfriend to Yes, exploration, then discovery. So when it comes to the example of, the young woman who was molested by her mother's boyfriend, and she's going to her mother and she's saying, why did you allow this to happen to me? She's asking the hard questions in her exploration, right? And the mother says, I didn't know what to do. And I don't know in anybody's right mind, how something like this can be okay or excusable, but I'm just saying something for the sake of example. I don't know what anybody would honestly say. Maybe they didn't know what to do. He was going to leave or whatever. Maybe it's a real situation where, he was paying the bills and mom wasn't working and she couldn't do anything. So, she allowed that to happen. So even though it was a hard question to ask, it was uncomfortable, right? Because you didn't want to think about that painful experience, let alone ask your mother about it, because, maybe you didn't want to make her feel bad. Never put anybody else before your healing. Don't do it. But in the exploration, you found out what happened, why mom allowed that. So you discovered truth. Right? Whatever that truth was, you discovered it. So now what do you do with your discovery? All right? Truth has brought about light to a dark situation, to an ugly situation. So what do you do with that? Okay, now you say, well, it wasn't my fault. This is what happened. This is what the situation was. Now you're able to take your power back. Truth gives you power. When you're able to walk in the light of your truth, you're walking in power. Now it has no power over you. Okay? And I'm going to touch briefly because I didn't do a video, but I did discuss this a little bit. I know maybe some of you guys have seen the video about the woman who got up in the church and was saying that, she used to prostitute and, sexually explicit. She used to do this and do that. But guess what? She got up in there in front of a church full of people and she spoke her truth. So guess what? It can't hold her no longer. All right? It can't keep her bound. So once you explore these events that happen to you and you discover the truth of it, it can't hold you anymore. All right? And that is where healing takes place. All right? That is actually in your most broken places, is actually where you meet God. Right there in your darkest places is where you meet God. And you obtain so much power, and literally in the process, all of this pain and things that you were carrying can literally be broken right then and there. All right? And guess what? It sounds easy as I'm talking about it, as I'm speaking to you about it, but guess what? It's hard work. It is hard work. And only people who are really serious about where their life is going and where they want to be do the hard work to get there. Okay, so I went off very deep into that. I didn't plan to touch that this evening, but I wanted to make sure that I answered those questions because it takes that. You have to heal in order to become your best self. There's no way around it, and we can say we want the wife, we want the nice house, we want this and we want that, but it's not until you actually do the healing that you can manifest all these material things, the career, the home. It's not until you become your best self that you're able to manifest these things that you say you want. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my notes. I think there was one more question. I want to make sure I don't miss it. It was DeAndre Del Sol. I don't know if you're still on the line. You said, how do you define success? Sometimes we are not happy because we are defining success by our oppressor's standards. So what is success for us, ourselves? All right, that's a good question. Success, honestly, I believe success is subjective. I don't think that we should be trying to acquire someone else's standards of success for ourselves, because I don't think society's standards of success, is what it fits everybody, right? So like let's just say this. I mean, it might not make sense. Okay, I wear size 10, right? You might wear a size 8. I'm just throwing something out there. So we're going out for shoes, we like this, we like that, but, we may think that, okay, this one looks really good or whatever, let me try it on, I think I like it, but we're different sizes, so it's not going to fit us the same, all right, maybe because you're in a smaller size, it's not as comfortable or whatever. So what I'm trying to say is, society's standards of success may not be comfortable for all of us. It may not be a good fit for all of us. And here's one example that I want to bring about that might not necessarily have to do with success, but you can literally go to a third world country where they don't necessarily have all the amenities and things of that nature that we do, the convenience of being able to go to stores and be able to just buy what they need. They go to to the markets and things of that nature, and sometimes they even go out and actually do what they need to do to get by day to day. All right, but they may not have all the amenities that we have here, but they're happy. All right. They're happy, they're content. And to me, that's what it's all about. Is your happiness within your success. It doesn't have to be the picket fence, the big house. You might be comfortable in, what are these houses? In a tiny house that they're doing now, right? Tiny houses are booming now, which I think are really cool. Because you're able to economically where things are and where things are going, it's kind of a smart move. But anyway, you might be satisfied with, a tiny home, or maybe you're comfortable with, a mobile home on a farm. Maybe you'd rather have the land than the big house. So we shouldn't allow society to define what is successful for each of us, because for each of us, it's going to be something different. And I believe you define that for you. You define, what it is that makes you happy according to, what your desires are in life and overall. So I hope that helped you. I hope I answered that question. So back to my notes and what I was initially discussing about, after discovering, truth hurts, and not many of us have, come to this point in our lives, where we want to do the work. But it is a must, okay? It is a must when you desire to become your better self. And one thing I want to say is kind of like, here's an example. So when I was younger, okay, like in my early 20s, maybe 19, 20, 21, around that age, I used to work for Sam's Club, okay? And I was making maybe $10 an hour, maybe, I'm guessing. And I was in a very, very, very bad place in my life. And so I would go to this job, not really wanting to be there. I would be kind to customers and things of that nature, but, I didn't like, some of the managers or people, who were in, charge, over me. I didn't like it. And so, I would just go about doing things my own way. So whenever Angel decided that she was going to go on break, Angel would close her lane down, and she was gone, If Angel decided that, she was tired and that she didn't want to be at work anymore, she had enough, Angel would close her lane down, take her cash till out, leave work 2 hours early, and they would call my phone asking, where are you? And I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. All right. This is when I was operating on a low level. All right. I didn't care. All right. I didn't care about anything. So I just did what I wanted to do. Or, if I didn't want to go to work, I just didn't want to go to work. I didn't go. And I would go in whenever I was supposed to go next, and they say, where were you? Whatever, So because I was in that place in my life, I couldn't receive, the $20 hour per job, right? I couldn't receive. I wasn't in a place where I could have a better career because I was operating on a low level, right? So I had to grow from that, okay? So a lot of times, we say we want this, we say we want that, but we're not prepared for it. We haven't developed ourselves enough for it. To say that you want this and you want that, and then to acquire it and then not be able to properly take care of it or to keep it, you'll just lose it just like that. All right. So there was no way that I could acquire a job where I was making $60 an hour, all right, and still operating on a low level. Guess what? Where I was making the $60 an hour, no one was going to tolerate, oh, I didn't show up to see my patients. No, where were you? This patient is in dire need of care. Where were you? No, I couldn't talk to my supervisors or anybody any kind of way. No, what's going on here? Okay, so a lot of times it takes development, it takes self-growth for us to not only acquire those places and those things, but also to maintain them. And what's the point of acquiring something if we're not able to keep it? All right, so think about that. And one last thing that I'm going to leave you guys with is, when it comes to relationships, the end goal for everybody, right, is to be married. For some of us, maybe it's not. Hey, it's not. The way things are going and people's definition of marriage, hey, it might not be yours. That's okay. But some of us still believe in it, okay? And so, being that it is a goal for some of us, or it is an ultimate desire for some of us, and we say, yes, I can't wait to meet my better half and things of that nature. Yes, it is a blessing to be able to meet your better half, but it's even better to meet the best whole version of yourself. All right? And this is what life is about. This is what the journey is about. It's about becoming your best self. It's about becoming your best whole self. It's about being whole. It's about being able to have peace whenever you lay down at night. It's about being able to have relationships, friendships that you can maintain, where you're not quarreling with somebody, every other day because you're holding on to baggage, you're holding on to brokenness, okay? And one of the biggest motivators for me to become my best self was during my pregnancy, right? For me, the ideal situation would have been able to prepare for my child emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, financially, all the way around. And so when I found out that I was pregnant, then it was go time. It was like, okay, I have to do some work. I have to prepare. So there were so many things that I was working on in terms of, entrepreneurship, spiritually, mentally and emotionally. I was working on so much because I said that I wanted to be my best self for my child. And she has been such a huge blessing, because had she not came in my life when she did, I probably would not have ever looked in the mirror anytime soon and said, okay, self, this is what we need to do. This is what it's going to take for us to become your best self. And it's okay no matter where you find yourself, whether you're 15, whether you're 30, whether you're 45, and you find yourself saying, or even 60, 50, we just live life and we don't really pay attention to our needs. But it's okay no matter what age or stage you find yourself in to say, you know what? I need to do this for me. I need to grow on this level. I need to develop more. I need to deal with this. I need to become my better self, regardless of where you find yourself. And there's no shame in that. Never feel any shame about working on you. Don't feel like you are being selfish for working on you, all right? In times where, you shut everything and everybody out. That is time being well spent. And it's okay to be selfish sometimes in life. But I'm so grateful that my daughter came, when she did, in spite of, because if she had not, I never would have saw the point where I needed to take time to work on myself soon. I probably would have did it maybe the next 3 or 4 years. All right. And that would have been time past that I could have been living out life, that I could have been growing, developing, and becoming my best self. So I really wasn't even trying to go into all of that. But, a question I want to leave you guys with is, what have your past relationships or friendships taught you about yourself? All right. And we mentioned that, sometimes it can be experiences that cause us to have these places or points of pain, and that we have to explore those, right? After acknowledging, we have to explore those, get to the root of those, and then through that process, we are able to discourage truth. Always replace the negative in your life with a positive, all right? Replace your negative thoughts with a positive, okay? And also, what steps are you willing to take? What are you doing to become your better self? What are you doing to prepare for the things it is that you want in life? In your exploration, you may have to go to the person that hurt you. It may be uncomfortable and ugly, and that's okay. But do what you have to do to get to the bottom of it. And sometimes it may even be okay to go to the past boyfriend or girlfriend or wife, husband that you had, and say, okay, what is it, what were some things that you noticed that I did, during this time we were together, that were not, beneficial, weren't positive, weren't fluid, healthy, whatever. And it takes a strong person to go back to somebody that you're no longer dealing with and ask them about your weaknesses or about your strengths. But only do this with somebody that you are comfortable with. Do this with somebody who will give you a genuine answer, because that's what you're looking for. You're trying to get to truth anyway. Who can help you in this discovery. It's very important. Okay? So, ask the hard questions. Ask the hard questions, because that is where truth can be discovered, right? And another thing, even in life, even in where society is today, there's so much information out there. There's so many things that are being said, right? So many stories that are being told, so much news that is going around. It's just so much, right? But ask the hard questions. You know, it's okay to say, well, you know what? When did that start? Or how did we get here? Or, you know, where did this come from? Where did this idea or this narrative come from? Who said it? You know, ask the hard questions that nobody is asking. Because too many of us are just taking what's being fed to us about ourselves, right? You know, what's being given to us, we're eating it, we're consuming it. And it's not truth for us, you know? So, hope you guys were able to take something away from this live video. It was very random, but I just wanted to kind of share some things that I was able to learn from my period of self-development, okay? And growth is ongoing. It's ongoing. As long as you are living and you're breathing on this earth, you should always be growing and evolving, okay? If you are staying same, nothing's changing, if you're being stagnant, then you probably stink. You may be on your way to death, necrosis, okay? But as long as you're living and breathing, you should always be changing, always be evolving, and there's no shame in that. You know, take your journey, you know, at whatever stage you're in. You know, never be in such a hurry to get somewhere or to get to another point and not appreciate the moment or understand the moment at which you're in right now. Life is always trying to show us something. Life is always trying to teach us something, but it's up to us to sit still, to get still enough to figure out what it is that needs to be revealed. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. But yeah, that book was Open Your Mind to Receive by Catherine Ponder. And I hope you guys have a productive week the rest of the week. I'll talk to you guys later. Be blessed.